And we're back for another episode of Irish Insight. Got my man Andrew Olina with me. Andrew, how we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. We're looking at the 2020 recruiting class. Arguably, Kelly's one of his best classes to date. So let's dive in.
Yep, and as always, this episode is brought to you by Save Our Livers. Go to saveourlivers.com, fill your hangover needs, use code VICTORYLAP, all caps, and have a weekend where you're not hungover the whole time. So, jumping right into it, Olina already kind of talked about it, but we're going to talk about the 2020 recruiting class for football. Last year they were 16th. This year they're 6th on 24/7 Sports. It's like you said, it's one of Kelly's best. You want to start us off with a few people that you're looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, apart from the obvious top three guys. I mean, I guess the top two guys, the receiver and all-purpose back, and Jordan Johnson and Chris Tyree. I'm most excited for the two tight ends, the two 6'5", 240-pound tight end, 6'5", 240-pound tight ends coming in this class. The number 2 and the number 6, I believe it is.
Yep.
I think everyone can agree that's a spot that they've been lacking consistent production in the past few years, and I think that's been a staple of the program for quite some time now. So I think that's going to be huge to get back, and we'll see how Book is able to implement that into the game, as we haven't seen him do it much last year.
I was about to say, I feel like Notre Dame for a while they've had one of the best tight ends in the country. In the past 2 years, that's kind of fallen off. Even guys like Durham Smythe though still on an NFL team and whatnot. But for me, the two guys I'm looking forward to the most are the two offensive tackles. They are the number 8 tackle and the number 15 tackle. One's 6'8", 275. The other 6'6", 285. That's just insane build for both of them. The way Notre Dame's been developing offensive linemen too, I think those two can develop into some insane offensive linemen and potential NFL players like they have been producing in the past. But overall, it's a pretty solid class. We were talking, everyone's pretty big in terms of their build coming in, which is always a big thing. So, the quarterback, Drew Pine, he's not that big. He's 6 foot, and he's a pro-style quarterback. I don't know about that. 6 foot, that's kind of pushing it. You got to think you got these linemen who are damn near ginormous. But obviously he's got to be a stud. He's got some big-time offers from a lot of different people. The tight ends, like you were pointing out, 6'5", 238 and 6'5", 240. That's just massive coming into college. So, and then, Chris Tyree, obviously at the opening, showed he's one of the best players in the country. He's literally on the cusp of becoming a 5-star. Jordan Johnson is a 5-star. So, you got the number 1 all-purpose back and the number 4 wide receiver. Can't go wrong with that. The previous class kind of really dove into the secondary. This one only has right now a cornerback. Do you think there's more to be added to the class?
I think, as it seems, this class is clearly receiver heavy and tight end. There's 2 tight ends and multiple receivers. I want to say there's 5 or 6 and a couple athletes who knows where they're going to end up playing. But I think with the 2019 class, we did see that there was quite a few defensive backs added to the repertoire and that just fills the always common need of just depth at that position that Notre Dame has lacked. And that's what really I think kills them in the big games. Really is the lack of speed. We all knew it was coming in the Clemson game that they were going to break off a huge play eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happened a few times, and that, though the score wouldn't really maybe accurately depict that, those plays really break the whole confidence of the. It's like the defense just got on the field, and then they just get 75-yard run and then a couple huge plays there. I mean, it's demoralizing after the offense continues to get 3 and outs there. Hopefully they got some speed there that's going to fill that hole that they've been longing to fill for a long
it seems like they really went
time now. I mean, and not that though. It's more of the next guy up mentality that I think that's like one of the one and only positions they don't really have that in.
Yeah.
It seems like they went through so many injuries the one year, and they just kept it. Their linebacker was good, D line, D tackle, whatever you want to call it, pretty solid. Quarterback is proven to be as the running backs too. So I really think that the tight end and the defensive backs are the positions that they've been lacking good depth in for the longest time. So
yeah, it seems like the 2019 class really went hard at the defensive side. In this class, although they do have, they have the number 6 inside linebacker from Hawaii, so kid's probably a stud. They got a DN from Illinois, the number 8 strong side DN. And then they got a corner, and then they got a strong side DN from Germany, which I'm actually excited about. Hopefully the fucking dude's an animal. He's 6'7", 238 at defensive end. That could be insane. But
yeah.
Like, they really went hard on wide receivers. They got 4 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 offensive tackles, a quarterback, and a running back. So maybe this is the Chris Tyree guy. He's one of the fastest players I've seen actually come to Notre Dame in a while. He was the fastest dude at the opening. And, Notre Dame has had a few guys who are fast. Like Will Fuller, dude was he could speed by people. But it seems like they're kind of recruiting speed again more, which is, like you noted in the Clemson game and in previous games against big teams, is that always kind of hurts them. And don't tell me, like, Michigan's, like, the big game. Like, it is, but Michigan's in the same thing that Notre Dame's in. When they play these teams, speed is on the field, and it affects them. So, for Notre Dame, it's like when you play... Although when Notre Dame did play Georgia, it wasn't that crazy in terms of speed. Next year, who knows? Hopefully it's the same thing. But it seems like every time Notre Dame plays in a big bowl game, you walk away like, wow. Team speed is a huge problem that they have right now. So I'm hoping – I think Chris Tyree can be one of the best offensive players that Notre Dame has seen since, like, the Rocket Ishmael days. Like, he can be that good. Jordan Johnson, I think he reminds me more of, like, a Maurice Stovall type. Like, a better Maurice Stovall wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the 2 tight ends. The number 2 dude, 6'5", 240, the dude looks like he doesn't have any fat on him. So he's clearly, a stud. It just seems like going to the playoffs really affected their recruiting, which you would think it would. You go to the playoffs, you play in the national stage, and you prove that you can be there. Now, they did get killed, but I don't think that really affects recruiting.
Yeah, I think it obviously cannot hurt them any way, shape, or form to play on that stage. Obviously I think it can in some rare circumstances, but Notre Dame did not play a terrible 4 quarters of football. They were playing pretty well in the first half, and they got away from them when they had a very key injury. Their All-American defensive back goes off the field, but that really is no excuse. You can't have one guy holding up your whole defensive back, defensive backfield. So but I don't really think we mentioned this yet, but these are all these players that we've been mentioning. It goes without saying the fastest player at the opening is bound to have every school offer him in the country, but a lot of these other tight ends and tackles and other wide receivers they have big time offers. Both the quarterback and the number 2 tight end, these are both obviously being offered by the Bamas, the Georgias, things like those teams right there. So we're competing with recruiting to a certain level with these schools finally. And I don't think that's really been. There's probably been one per class here, but you probably list a few, at least 5, maybe 7 players that they've chosen Notre Dame over these SEC schools. So, and I think one of my biggest concerns. I just don't know about the quarter. I don't know. When did we start recruiting these smaller quarterbacks. I don't know what that trend's all about.
Well, the backup this year, Jerkovich, he's ginormous, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, he is 6'5", I think.
So, I don't know about this kid, but, I mean, to your point about recruiting, I mean, Jordan Johnson's top 3 were Notre Dame, Alabama, and Arkansas. So,
yep.
I mean, they were actually recruiting against guys. Now, granted, like, yeah, I'm sure there's some 5-stars that want nothing to do with Notre Dame. I mean, can't face away the facts of, like, when you go there, you actually have to go to school to a point. So, like, there's some people that they're just not going to get, and that's what you have to live with the circumstances they're at right now. But, yeah, I think this is the first small quarterback that they have actually recruited in a little bit. Now, they do have a kid coming in 2021 who is 6'2", 200. He's from California. Notre Dame loves California quarterbacks. That's just like a staple for Notre Dame. But, yeah, I mean, I don't understand. He must be good if he has offers from everyone, you know what I mean? Like, that's like that thing where obviously
it's not like Notre Dame's recruiting staff is the only one seeing something in this guy. So
right,
he's probably going to be a beast. Or I mean, he has the potential to. I mean, obviously this doesn't mean anything yet. It's tough to get super excited about recruits. We had some tough letdowns with a few of them when I was in high school, so it was like I lost the fire to get excited for recruits after that.
Yeah, you can get excited for like a week. So like when you see the Chris Tyree highlights at the opening, you're like, oh, this is sweet. Like this dude's gonna be nuts. But then it's like also like, oh, he's not gonna fucking be here for over a year. You know, like so he's not. So I get what you're saying. It's definitely hard to get excited, but maybe when these recruits start to perform and they come in, and so the one thing I see a difference in Notre Dame and like in Alabama and in Georgia and like Clemson, and this might start to change with the recruiting classes they're having coming in though, is that they have so many freshmen play, like compete for jobs, do all that stuff. I don't really see that much for Notre Dame as of late, but I think with these recruiting classes that will change. But I think that's like Clemson and them, because you can't tell me that, oh, well, Notre Dame has so many old guys. Like, okay, so does everyone else. But I think that might start to change because listening or following some of the camp stories right now is Kyle Hamilton, the freshman safety, has been absolutely tearing up. But he won't play that much because you have 2 returning starters coming back. But, I mean, I like to see that freshmen are actually, you know, competing right now and, like, getting into there, because then that means that the guys they're recruiting are actually legit. Now, I'm not saying you're going to have everyone, because you're obviously going to have a few people that are going to redshirt. You can't just play everybody. But
exactly. That's the issue. There's some scenarios where it makes more sense to redshirt them at this time.
Right.
But when you're on a team that's contending on a national level immediately upon your arrival, then that changes the whole narrative. Like a scenario where maybe like a Purdue where it looks like they're starting to build a pretty solid recruiting base, or an IU back when Wilson was still there. Right. It may make sense to no matter how good the kid is, he can easily take your job. We're going to redshirt him to wait till he can play with these recruits that we're building. So
for sure,
definitely also builds a stance where Notre Dame's like, okay, we're competing every year, and this is real now. Whereas they've had a few solid years and they'd fall off. So if they can,
yeah, I think that's a good point. Actually, I think knowing that like you're actually legit competing right now, it's like you don't have to redshirt everyone because you don't need to prepare.
Yeah, it's the whole play the senior thing flies at the fucking, like, that's not going to happen here.
Yeah, like
if there's a solid player, then your job's taken. Like, that's all there is to it.
Like Joe Schmidt fucking starting. That was just like, dude, that I will never get over. Like, I swear to God, every football game you watch the year Joe Schmidt started, you would yell at your TV that he did something wrong. Like, and it was like, and it was always like the biggest play of the game. Like, oh, 3rd and 14, Irish get a stop here, they definitely can win. Well, they ran a screen pass. Who's there to tackle him? Joe Schmidt. Oh, he missed.
Yeah, he's running full fucking speed, and the guy just jogs by him.
God, but yeah, I do agree with that. I think, yeah. So, and I think they're also getting better recruits. It seems like, which is good. Defense has always been their problem with getting guys. They've always gotten like one or two linebackers, like Manti Te'o, Lene Kakua, Jalen Smith. But they haven't been able to get other than Harrison Smith, who's the last DB to really play in the NFL. I know Matthias Farley has played for the Colts, but he was special teams. He doesn't really play safety that much. But yeah. I mean, Harrison Smith's one of the best safeties. So other than him, though, it's been a problem just making NFL players and recruiting them.
Yeah, you couldn't name a defensive back from Notre Dame. I can't name one that's really had impact. And to have it be Harrison Smith, I just would have never guessed that. Right? Guy.
Exactly. I've always said that too. Smith? And now he's the best safety in the game, and it's Jesus, that's insane. Yeah. But I think the 2020 class is kind of wrapped up. I don't think they might get one or two guys, but for the most part, I think they're pretty much set on the recruits that they have committed right now. Obviously, no one's signed yet, so everyone can decommit. I don't see anyone decommitting. I maybe see one or two guys committing to helping the class kind of round out. Could you imagine a catastrophic decommit? Who would your dark horse be for a maybe a commit that isn't committed now that could have some potential to sign? That isn't committed right now that could sign?
Is not. Or if you feel the opposite way, someone that you're not too confident that he's fully. And that's another thing we can briefly touch on. How do you feel about kids verbally? What kind of stock do you put in a verbal commit?
I think.
And what should it mean? Because in the past, you were exiled if you Gunnar Kiel. I mean, I know he did it 4 times, but he was the first time he did it, he went from IU to LSU, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah. And he was with Notre Dame, remember, at first?
It was Notre Dame first? What was the order? I don't even know the order.
He, committed to IU, then committed to Notre Dame, and then basically they were you weren't going to play at Notre Dame, and then decommitted, and then, he committed,
LSU for a little bit.
And then he
Cincinnati,
and then he wanted to go back to IU or something, and IU was fuck no, and then he went to Cincinnati or something. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, that might be a terrible example, but I mean, nonetheless, he was. You can pull up any kid that decommits from a. The problem is you can't just announce the commitment and end it at that. Don't start saying you bleed green or whatever it is.
See, I think that's the problem that recruits fall into. That it's okay.
And I get it. It's exciting. You want to be. I'm all.
It is. But the reason why fans get mad at you, and I get the whole you're a dad on your computer. Don't be fucking cussing at recruits. But then again, don't be the kid who's I bleed blue and gold, and then 3 months later,
then you're just lying and you're just doing it for the.
Now this is also different if the coach get fired or something like that. I completely understand when people decommit.
Yeah.
But if the coaching staff stays intact, let's say Brian Kelly is still there, everyone's still there, and you're the guy who's I bleed blue and gold, and then just decommits 3 months later. No, fuck you. You don't do that. I think that's stupid. But
if you're gonna say that, then you got to be in your head. If you're gonna be saying you bleed whatever color, then you have to in your head already envision an offer from the best school in the country, and you're still saying no before you can say that. I mean, I get it. If a better opportunity arises, then it's better for you. I could never understand how someone could be mad at somebody for doing that, but at the same time, you got to handle it a little bit different, I think. And because coaches do it all the time, and it's okay, well, why would Utah, Urban Meyer, he went from Utah to Florida? Is anyone really going to be why the fuck did you do that? You were
right.
You were a Ute.
Right. No, I agree. I hate the coaches though that also say there's no way I'm leaving. It's just be I'm going to weigh my options. Come on.
Of course, that's the thing, and that's the problem. It's They say that there's no I'm sure these kids are there's no way I'm leaving. I believe this. It's one or two schools could offer, and then those schools end up offering. It's
right.
Well, the situation arose, so it is what it is.
So, who I think though, back to your first question when you started it, was who will commit that is uncommitted right now is Colin Gamble. He's a cornerback from Texas. I think he will commit to Notre Dame. Now, who I think could leave is
I can see one of those top two guys leaving.
I don't think Chris Tyree does. I could see Jordan Johnson leaving.
Yeah. I don't, just off of pure bad feeling, it just seems too good to be true. Like, when is the last time Notre Dame had an athlete like that? Like, seriously, is it the Rocket? Where he's just
like Chris Tyree? Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily the Rocket.
So it's been 30 years.
Yeah, easily the Rocket. I don't know though. They said him and the running back coach is their bond is insane, and that's half the reason why he committed. So
okay, well, shit.
That's why I don't think he leaves, but I think Jordan Johnson might. I think Jordan Johnson might do one of those he committed, he goes to a game at Notre Dame, and then slowly down the road. There's a long time. It's November, I think, until you can actually sign. So, I mean, if they can hold him off till November, so the problem with those is the guys who. So
so November is that when you can early enrollee or something? Or
no, that's when you can early sign.
You can early sign, okay.
Yeah. So if
National Signing Day is in February, but you can early sign in November.
Yes, but it's a 2-day period. So when you have the guys who have been committed for 6 months and they don't sign, then I think that's when you're well, okay, are they looking for something else?
Fuck.
But
that's the scary day.
If you can get Jordan Johnson to sign in November, obviously there's nothing out of it, and he is clearly committed. This is another thing. I understand keeping your options open, but if he's taking a lot of visits to other schools during the football season, that's another thing to watch out for, to see if he's really looking for something more, or if he's just I'm gonna go to Notre Dame games, then you have literally zero to worry about, even if another person offers him, because I think he has majority of the offers that he would be looking for already. He's a 5-star
they're
receiver.
already on the table, yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing is if he's visiting these schools, then he might open up a new love for something. That's what you have to watch out for if he takes official visits while he's committed to Notre Dame. But one of the national recruiting analysts, his comparison is Keenan Allen. So this dude's a stud.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen is a fucking great NFL receiver. So
yeah, he is.
That's all I really have for recruiting. It's an exciting time, actually, for Notre Dame recruiting, considering their next year's class right now is ranked 3rd in the country. This year's class is ranked 6th. Looks like they have kids coming in that can compete, actually, in the 2019 class. So, I mean, Notre Dame has to, kind of build on this. They can't go 8-4, 7-5. They got to go.
Yeah, it's got to be another fire. They got to just
10-2, 11-1, 12-0, one of those three.
Fire from last year
For sure. So, camp's rolling around. We're finally fucking back. Football season's right around the corner. That's all I have for tonight. You got anything else?
Yep. Keep your eye out for a shirt that could be premiering for the 2019 season. Maybe a game in week 6, I believe.
Some are calling it the shirt.
Could be the shirt. In talks with the university now.
But that's all we got for tonight. Retweet, subscribe, follow us. Give us some feedback if you want us to answer any questions on some next episodes coming up. Like Andrew said, look out for the shirt. Buy it. It'll be $15. You won't regret it. Appreciate everyone listening.